In this world, you can wholesale anything: pens, papers, staples, computers, desks, chairs. It's simply the art of being able to get it cheaper than it's worth on the market and sell it to somebody else that's willing to buy it for more than what you got it for. It's not that complicated. People like to make it complicated because they think it's real estate. It's got to be complicated. When the reality is it's no different than wholesaling a car, TV remotes. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing. What we do is we do not actually sell real estate. In order to sell real estate that is not titled to you, you have to be a real estate salesperson or broker in the state of North Carolina. What you are simply doing is you're finding people that want to sell their house quickly. And how I always determine if wholesaling can work in a city is I say, is there a pawn shop in that city? And if there's a pawn shop in the city that you live in, then wholesaling will work. Because it makes no sense for somebody to go buy a $1,000 TV and then turn around and sell it for 150 bucks to somebody else because they need cash at that moment. It's literally no different with real estate. People inherit property. People buy property when times are good. When times are bad, they need to sell it for whatever reason. And we're not in the real estate business. We are in the problem solving business. All we do is solve people problems and we make money doing it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. So we get a property under contract, which gives us what they call equitable interest. Okay. Let's just use a scenario of a $100,000 house. $100,000 house is in disrepair. It means it's not up to date. Windows might be out of date. Carpet's out of date. House has never been updated. Let's say the person lives in Texas. They inherited the property from their mother. The property fixed up would be worth $100,000, but the property is not fixed up. So what we try to do is go in there, estimate what the repairs might be on the property, get the property at a discount, and then throw out an offer. Okay. And let's just say they accept your offer at $30,000 and you know what the spread is on the property. And then once you have that contract, like I said before, you get equitable interest. That means they can't do anything with that property until your time has expired or you bought it, right? So in that time frame that your contract is, you control that property. And what you can do is what we call assignments, is you basically assign your contract to somebody else that wants to step in your place and perform the contract as you have written it. And by assigning the contract, what you're doing is they're paying you a fee for your equitable interest in the property. So you're literally selling a piece of paper and not the property. Make sense? Because in order to sell property that you don't own, you have to be a licensed broker. Make sense? It's kind of complicated a little bit. If I had a whiteboard, I'd draw it, but that's pretty much the basis of what it is. So like the parties involved were whoever is the seller. So whoever's owner on record will go on this line. So this same file is in the Wholesaling Elite group. So if you want to get this, go to the file section in the Facebook group and you can pull a blank one of these. So the party's the seller, we got it in quotations there, agrees to sell and convey to Maxwell Ventures LLCs. That's the name of my wholesaling company, okay? As the buyer, and or assigns as buyer. That's the key word in this contract that allows us to assign this contract to anybody that wants to step in my place. So essentially when you assign a contract, you're basically marking your name out and the new buyer goes in there and they perform the rest of the contract as you wrote it originally, okay? The buyer agrees to buy from the seller the following described real estate together with all improvements and everything else, pretty much. And my other contract goes in a little bit more detail what it is, but you really don't need it. You're going to fill out the address. This is kind of self-explanatory. The address, city, state, county, the zip code. Now, legal description, this is really not a legal description, but what this is just a deed booking page that is located in Forsyth County. You can also put the parcel identification number, which is known as the PIN. Anything that is unique to this property, you can fill it in that line. Now here's what the seller really cares about, the purchase price, okay? Purchase price is set to be $27,000. And here's the condition of how that sale is gonna happen. The buyer, Maxwell Ventures, will deposit $100 with attorney Eric Ellison. That's my quote unquote title company or my real estate attorney. So what happens is when I get these contracts, I immediately go to Eric and I give him $100 and I said, open up escrow. He starts a soft title search to be able to see if this property is even transferable or if it has any problems that I didn't find just simply looking on the county website. Okay. So now let's go into some clauses that allow you to get out of this contract if you can't assign it. Okay. So the buyer will deposit $100 with attorney Eric Ellison to start escrow. Right? These are the conditions. Subject to review, inspection, and written approval of my financial partner. So literally what that says in line B is that if my financial partner does not agree to this contract, then we can back out. Right? So when you're explaining this to your seller, they don't care about that. They care about who's buying it, who's selling it, and the price. It's not your responsibility to go line by line with this over to your seller. You're not an attorney and you don't represent them, so it's not your place. Misspelling, but like I said, I made $1 million with this contract already. It's supposed to say buyer. Buyer may place appropriate signs on the property prior to closing for prospective tenants, contracts, or signees. Right? They don't care about that. I've never been asked what that means. They don't care. They want to know how much money they're getting. Seller agrees to allow the buyer to show the property to prospective partners, contractors, or inspectors prior to closing. On vacant properties, I always get a key. Get a lockbox on the house, or I just take the key. When I first started, I didn't have lockboxes. I just took the key, but I recommend getting lockboxes at Home Depot. Okay? Is there an addendum to this contract? No. It's a very, very simple contract. It keeps your seller at ease. It's one page. The terms is going to be all cash. Real simple. We're going to bring $27,000 cash to the closing. Possession is to be given on or before the closing date, right? So they're saying, hey, you can pretty much, get the property prior to closing, but you're never really going to use it because you already have it that you can show the property to contractors. And I always use the word contractors. How you explain how you're getting the key is you say, hey, now that we've got a deal, do you have an extra key? If not, let's go make one. The reason why I need the key is because on the day of closing, right, I need to have my contractors ready to go. Okay? And I say that because I need to go in there and get estimates from my floor guy, the window guy, bathroom guy, the plumbing guy, and they understand. They don't care because all they care about, the $27,000. Okay? So that's how you explain why you need a key prior to, especially if it's a vacant house. And if it's a house that's occupied, just set the expectation with the seller up front. I love to set the expectation because when you walk in that house, you're the real estate expert. Most people only buy 1 or 2 houses their entire lifetime, right? So they will never, you come in there as the real estate expert, right? So that's how you pretty much ask the keys. Now, if the house is occupied, you just want to say, hey, what are some dates and times that work for you where I can bring my contractors and my partner by just to look at the property? Probably be just 10 minutes each time. So I probably need to come 2 or 3 times between the time we close, right? And those contractors or partners are your buyers, right? And you should have a relationship with your buyers. Say, hey, listen, we're gonna go in this house. I want you to talk about price and I want you to leave the seller alone. It's me and you. And it's that simple because you're not hiding. They know you're a wholesaler. They know what's going on, okay? So that's how this is called setting the expectation with the seller. And then number 7 says seller agrees to pay all taxes, assessments up to including the date of transfer. That just basically means the day it's bought, they're gonna pay the taxes for the time they live there, right? Don't worry about that. The attorney's gonna take care of it, okay? Closing date, so closing costs shall be paid by purchaser, right? Unless you can get them to split it with you, but really who cares? Because you're not paying for it, your buyer is. So the buyer is gonna pay the closing cost. And if you remember what I said, you're not gonna pay the closing costs because when you assign the property, your name literally get marks out and the new name get puts in it. So if that's the deal, if you're getting a real deal, then you have no problem paying the closing costs. I think closing costs for what cash transactions like $450, $500. At least that's what my attorney charges. Quick. All right. This is another thing that they care about. So a couple things they care about: the price. Do they have to pay any closing costs? And when are they gonna close? When are they gonna get their money? Closing date should be on or before 4/20. Right? If you notice when we signed this contract, I literally almost gave myself 3 weeks to get this done. She's happy with it. And then you got all this mumbo jumbo in here, talks about zoning and stuff. And then this property here, this offer, when accepted, compromise the entire agreement of purchaser and seller. And I don't even read this stuff, okay? I just know what it means. Other than no representation agreements have been made or replied upon, right? So this offer is to remain open and accepted until a certain date. So what they're saying is, you have until March 27th. If you notice the day we signed, I'm giving her until March 27th to agree to this contract, or I'm going to have to, move on. Because I make them feel like it's a limited thing. That, hey, I'm looking at 3 or 4 houses a day, and that if you don't give me an answer today, only thing that's going to change is my ability to buy this house when I leave, because I might go buy 3 more. So when you call me 2 days from now, I've probably spent $150,000. That's how I make them feel, right? So I need your answer now, okay? And we signed the contract, and we pretty much make money. So it's very, very simple. You guys, you know assignment contracts. Have you seen assignment contracts? Most of you have seen assignment contracts. It's very simple. It just basically says, hey, I'm the assignor. I'm going to give the assignee my contract in this property, and you have till this day to close. It's that simple. And when your buyer signs that contract, get money from him, non-refundable. It locks him into the deal. We do $2,500 with our everyday buyers. We might do like the buyers that buy from me all the time, $1,000. Just give me $1,000. Some of them, I just say, I'll see you tomorrow. Let's close. They usually don't care. So, like I said, I like to keep this short, and I'll kind of show you guys my other contract. This is the 8-page contract that I don't really like. This is a house we just bought, 2 days ago? So we bought it for $175,000. It's a $400,000 house though. On this property, I did give a $500 due diligence, which basically I gave it to the seller, a $500 check. But like I said, this wholesaling fee was $50,000. So I was okay with giving $500, right? So this is my 8-page contract. You kind of see why I don't like it. I don't want to go through with this with the seller. I like my 1-page contract better. I'm glad Eric is not here to see this, but I don't like doing that long contract, right?
Was there a reason you felt the need to extend it out to 8 pages?
I didn't. My attorney did, right? And that's just him being an attorney, right? I think my contract says pretty much the same thing. He just explained it more and made it into 8 pages, right? I think longer contracts makes sellers skeptical and less likely to sign. You feel less intimidated when I bring you one paper and say, sign this, right? So I use that. Like I said, the 1-page contract is really the one I like to use all the time. I've made Francis go out there and do this because he likes to talk a lot on stuff like that.
So what happens if your contract's already in escrow, but you want to renegotiate the purchase price?
Easy, right? So let's just say this property, $27,000. We get it under contract, right? We get this property under contract, and we always renegotiate. J-Rock's gonna try to grab some more chairs, and we'll make this work. There's one right here. There's one over there. There's another one right here. Yeah. Sit down, please. Yeah. So here's what happens. All you're going to do is, let's just say you call the seller, say, hey, look, we found termites. I need a $3,000 reduction. They agree to it. So the new price is what? $2,200, 24, right? All you get is addendum to the contract. Just says the contract dated such and such for this property has been has an addendum now. The new purchase price is this. Yes, sir.
So most attorneys that I've spoken with, they want to charge to do that like preliminary title search. As you build relationships with your attorneys, have they tended to waive that, or how does that work?
Yeah, so my attorney closed all my deals but a couple, so he's probably made a good $60,000, $70,000 in closing fees off of us. Not me, but the buyers. You know, one thing is to really screen attorneys, and I know they're going to grab the money, but explain to them, listen, here's what happens if you can't wait 7 to 15 days for this extra money. Now say, listen, if the deal falls through, then sure, I'll do it. But here's another thing. If you don't want to pay that money up front, say don't start the title search until I find a buyer. Because if it falls through at that point, you know, it's a no deal anyways. But I would just try to either talk with your current closing attorney or just say, this is how it works. We work in like a 15-day bubble. You can wait 15 days to go to the closing table to get your money, right? Because if they charge for a preliminary search, they can't charge for a full search after that either, right? So that's, at least they're not supposed to. So either find a new one or really have a heart-to-heart with the one you got and say, hey, look, I'm trying to bring you more and more business, but you're making it difficult the way with the flow of things. And they got their own practice. They can do what they want to do.
Now, if they do want to nickel and dime you for those title searches, what do you do beforehand to do as much due diligence as possible?
So you can look at the deeds yourself, because you know a title search in North Carolina is done at a laptop, right? My attorney has literally done a title search for me in 2 hours. And that's with him probably taking lunch. So it's not a hard thing. They make it out to seem like a hard thing, because why would they want you to let you know they can do it in 20 minutes, right? Because they charge you by the thing, or I don't care, just get it done, right? That's the most important thing.
How do you go about finding a lawyer, like when you're just starting out?
What county are you in?
Mecklenburg.
Mecklenburg. So that's Charlotte, right? Mm-hmm. So I know there's quite a few, but how I usually recommend people finding one is you got a couple ways. You could join the local RIA, not join it, but go to one of their meetings, and usually somebody that's sponsoring the, or go to their website, better yet. Usually one of their sponsors is usually an attorney, right? And if they're there, they're usually friendly. And if not, just go into like my Facebook group, Wholesaling Houses Elite, and say, hey, do you guys know of any closing attorneys in Charlotte? And I'm pretty sure you could probably find out just from this room right here. I believe. There you go. Yeah.
If they're not forthcoming with their unfortunate circumstances, do you kind of put that out on the table? As
far as like say, like, you know, they're facing tax foreclosure and they're not telling you.
Yeah, mortgage.
If they're stern, yes. Yeah, like if they're hard to negotiate with, oh, absolutely. My attorney, when he makes that phone call, he's like, hey, look, and I've seen, he just did it yesterday. You got a tick and you got time. What are you gonna do? Yeah, he's very blunt with it. I like the psychology of a sale, so I see what I ask questions to get the answers I already know. And I try to, yeah, that's just basically how I get it out of them. But usually if somebody does an inbound call, or maybe you've done your research and you're calling them and they're interested in selling, bring it up politely. You know, say, because you found them somewhere or other. Hey, I've seen that you were down at the courthouse facing foreclosure. You know, what's the situation? And literally in that tonality there, they don't feel threatened or you're not being invasive. You just want to say, you know, because you're there as the problem solver. How can I help you? Right? Hey, you're like, how can I help you? What's the situation here? And then they usually, oh, I lost my job, my husband's sick, or some other situation. Then it's ball game.
Do you have any recommendations for folks to get like real data versus relying on Zillow numbers? So everybody knows how to use the wholesaling calculator value tool that is in the group. It's an Excel sheet. I would assume so, but it's the ARV, and that's where people mess up. Yes, it's like it was like $100,000 more than the actual ARV. It's like I don't know if they inflated to try to make the numbers work, or they just
Desperate.
Is that the Facebook app? I mean, the one that's on the Facebook group? No.
Yeah, in the file section. So essentially, what we use and what I have my phone callers use is a website called TotalViewRealEstate.com. Now, I don't know how well it works outside of Forsyth County, because I only work in Forsyth County. TotalViewRealEstate.com, I believe what it is. It's a very ugly website, but you put the property in there and it's going to give you an average that we use as a negotiating average. Now, what I found in Forsyth County is that number is actually lower than what the ARV actually is. But that's great because that's the number I negotiate off of, right? Because if you guys remember in any of my videos where I talk about price anchoring, is when you go to the seller, you want to try to find out what they think the property is worth. Because the property might be worth, let's say real life, 115, right? Like Total View Real Estate might say 102. But the tax value might be 89 and the seller might think that their house is worth 89. Which number I'm going to start negotiating from? 89. Okay? So you want to anchor the seller in at a price.
So, the buyer walked out when he saw the assignment fee, and then tried to negotiate with the seller directly. So in those cases, I mean, not in that case, but just in your opinion, do you prefer the single closing?
Never done a double close. Never done one. And the reason is because I set an expectation for my buyers. Remember, we have what is literally gold. So he who holds the gold makes the rules. Okay, so when I have a buyer that wants to buy from me, he has to understand that maybe we get a property for $1 because we've done our homework, and that's it. And I might assign it to you for $50,000. Are you angry that I make $49,999 because the numbers still work for you at 50, but you're mad that I made that much money? Then you literally, that's a question that we ask. If you are angry, then you cannot buy from us. And I'll tell you how to stop that is you make them give you a $2,500 non-refundable fee up front. It's a little hard to back out when you know you're gonna lose $2,500.
Follow-up question kind of along those lines. So just watching your videos, I understand that you wholesale. Sometimes you'll flip it, sometimes you'll keep it as a rental. What's your decision-making process to determine what you're gonna do with that property?
How good the numbers are. I have a calculator that I kind of put a lot of deals through. I didn't create the calculator, so I can't give it away because I think it's somebody else's proprietary stuff. But yeah, I put it, if a deal's, it just depends, right? Because you got a quick nickel and then a slow dime. Like, where do you want it? Can I flip it and make 40 or wholesale it and make 18? 2 days, 100 days. You know, where do you want it at? So that's kind of up to you. I'm buying a house tomorrow for $9,000. Tax value of 58. I will probably keep it as a rental for a little while. I could, you know, but it's just where you're at personally with it and kind of what your end term, your long term goes. Some people are just wholesaling to get to a certain amount of cash to go do something else, to go pursue, you know, to open up a bakery. I don't know, but it's where you are financially. Sometimes I don't have enough cash as I need, so I can't, and then it just demands that I wholesale it to keep the business running like it's supposed to be running, right? Now, when I'm sitting on a lot of cash, yeah, I think let me hold some things, but then I really like the business model of wholesaling. A lot less risk. I don't really like flipping that much. To be honest, I don't. Just so many problems, the inspections. I hate dealing with agents. I hang up on agents every day.
Since you mentioned that, how do you recommend working with an agent when the property is really a fixer-upper? It should be a flip, could be a wholesale, but the agent is in between. So how would you? So is the property listed? It's listed.
Yeah, if it's listed and the numbers are truly correct, and you can buy it, and still you can wholesale a property unless it says it's not. But typically, the numbers have to be real great. And if a property is on the MLS, every investor, true investor, should have somebody scouring the MLS for them all the time anyways. So it should get picked up quickly.
But here's the problem: it's priced too high, and
Let it expire.
But the owner, but the owner is out there
Trying to sell himself.
Yeah, and,
Yep.
and they're shooting a number that's way lower than what is listed.
Then so let that become an issue between the agent and the seller, and if he wants to sell you the property, that's his problem and not yours, because he has an exclusive listing agreement with the broker, and he can fire that. Reality, he can fire the broker at any point he wants to, for whatever he wants to.
So just wait for the listing to expire.
Or tell him, say, look, if you really want to do it, I'll buy the property at this price, but you got to fire your broker. Most people use like the next plan when they buy an iPhone, right? I did. So I didn't go out and spend $1,000 cash on this phone. They added the $32 to my monthly bill or something like that, right? So what happens is, let's just say halfway through my plan, I want to sell and upgrade and get a new phone, but I still owe $500, right? So that $500 is a lien on this phone. So let's just say Bryson calls me, he's like, yo, I want to buy that iPhone X from you. He has to at least give me how much? 500. So if I want to make profit, I got to charge him over the 500, right? So even if, okay, let's just say I sell it to him. Let's just say I sell it to him, and he goes, the guy goes to hook it up, and he calls to hook it up, and they say, you can't turn this on because there's a balance on it. So essentially, I sold him, it's not clean title. I sold him something that he can't use, right? So that's the same with the house, right? So what happens is if you're making an offer for $50,000 and there's a mortgage balance or a tax balance of $60,000, two things got to happen. One, the seller has got to come to the closing table with $10,000 cash, right? And it's happened. People have wanted to get out of a property. It's happened. Or two, you got to offer more money to cover the lien so that you can get a clean title.
That's what happened to me. She owed 15 in mortgage. I offered 20. She thought about it. She said she'll give me a call back.
So she owed
15 to 16 in mortgage.
What was the house worth?
House worth about 75.
Okay, so how much did she want? What was her asking?
She wanted 60.
She crazy. Yeah. So I think that's it. I want to put y'all on Instagram real quick. I don't think I've done this before. Does this look good? So on the count three, I just want y'all to make a little bit of noise. Don't wake everybody up, but make some noise. Y'all ready? 1, 2, 3. So if you weren't at this week's wholesaling event, it's free. You're crazy because we just dropped some jewels and people have been challenged out here to get some deals. Y'all gonna get y'all first deal? Yeah! Boom.
Oh yeah.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.